Hey, it's the Blue Man crew coming back at you from Orange Park Forge. Jeff Knutson here on the Red Sea Max 250 transfer from the 30-gallon tank. Tonight we're going to do a little moving of the fish, should we say. We're going to take the clownfish and my banded coral banded shrimp and move them from the 30-gallon tank to their new home in the Red Sea Max 250. I'm going to turn the camera around in just a moment and tell you how I'm going to do this project, because it's going to take a little more work than what normally should take for just moving fish from one tank to another. So be right back with you. Hold on for just a second. Okay, like I said, tonight's moving night. What's going to go on here is we're going to take from the old 30-gallon tank my True Percula pair, a couple of clownfish, and my friend the coral banded shrimp, which you can't really see, but you can see him sticking out from behind the rock there, and my friend the anemone. This is a white anemone, and so they tell me the whiter they are, the sicker they are, and he's definitely not terribly white. You can see I've got some slime in this tank, some red slime algae, Chiano algae, and that we're going to dust off anything that's remaining in the tank and try to get Mr. Anemone out without damaging. I think there's at least 2 rocks, maybe 3, that he's got his foot attached to, and that's going to create a little issue, which I'll get back to in just a minute. But first we're going to do what's called a drip in on the clowns and the shrimp. We are going to take this bucket here, which has excuse me, about 3 inches of water in a 10-quart bucket from the 30-gallon tank. We're going to start a drip from the new Red Sea Max 250 through this standard fish tank tubing. Now, most people will just tie a knot in the tubing and adjust the drip that way. I actually am a little lazy, so I've got a valve right here that is an inline valve that I can adjust the flow of the drip. And of course we've got our good old fish net to fish out the clowns and the shrimp. So we're going to drip them in. It'll probably take an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on how the drip goes. And then what's going to happen from there is we're going to take and drain the water down to almost the level of the top of that rock on the right hand side of the tank. We're going to obviously pull the PVC pipes out, and at that time I'm going to attempt to take the anemone, excuse me, I always have problems with that, and the rock out of this tank at the same time. Now I'm going to drain it down, like I said, and then I'm going to slide it along the wall to get it as close as possible to the new tank. Now, in most cases, in all cases actually, you should drip your coral and your inverts and your anemones in just like you do your fish. Unfortunately, because he's attached to so many rocks, or could be attached, I'm just going to take a chance and move him from tank to tank without a drip. Don't really want to do it that way, but I'm afraid that if I don't get underneath him and keep him flat, that I'm going to have a problem. So what my plan is I went to Home Depot. I bought what's called a painter's grate. It had a little bit of a bend in this metal, which you can see I have bent flat. I'm going to take that grate, attempt to slide it underneath the rock and the anemone, pick them up, and put them in the Red Sea Max 250 tank. Before I do that, I'm going to blow away all the red algae and, of course, as I said, get rid of the tubing. I'm hoping the rocks are flat enough on the bottom that when I get underneath of them, they don't rock and pull away from the foot of the anemone, because that would not be a good thing. You never want to tear the anemone away from whatever he's attached to, and he's been hooked up there for 6 months or so. So it's going to be a tough little move. So we're going to try that. I'm going to come back with you and show you how I drip in my fish, and then we'll come back and show you the move on the anemone as well. So I'll be right back with you momentarily. Okay, so we've captured the clowns and have them in the bucket there. And we've also started our drip. Now what I've done is I've stuck one end of the tube in the Red Sea Max 250, and if you notice I use a good old-fashioned clothespin because there's nothing more fun than having salt water come spraying out when the tube comes out of the tank. So just a little safety thing I do to make sure I don't get water all over the floor. The tube runs down, and if you don't know how to start a siphon, you've got to have the end that you want to siphon into lower than the end that you got the siphon started from, and you suck on the tube till all the salt water comes out. Now you can see the drips going. I've actually got it dripping a little fast. I'll back that up a little bit, and I use this valve right here to control how many drips it drips in there. What I'll end up doing, as I said, there's about 2.5 inches of water in that bucket, and when I end up I want about 50% of the water from the tank, the new tank, and 50% of the water from the old tank. A lot of people will double drip, where they'll take another line from this bucket and drip it into an empty bucket so that you have a closer ratio of the water from the newer tank in the bucket. But in so much as both these tanks pH and temperature and etc. are very close, I'm just going to do a single drip. But there are the clowns. You can see the drip going. Again, just to review, there is the end of the tube that the siphon starts from. Follow it around through the clothespin, over the chair, and into the bucket. So now I'm going to siphon the old tank using something other than that type of siphon. This is a Python or a automatic siphoner that hooks to your kitchen sink. I used this in a previous video, I believe, when I was putting water into the 32-gallon bucket to mix this salt up with. But I'm going to hook this up to the sink, siphon most of the water out of this tank here, try to clean up some of the red algae as well. Clean everything up around the rock and on the rock as best I can, and then again slide this painter's grate underneath the rock and the anemone, and hopefully get it transferred over safely to the new Red Sea Max 250. So I'll be back at you in a moment. Thanks. Alrighty, so far the plan is working. There's a little reflection in here, but as you can see, I have managed to move the anemone slightly by sliding the painter's grate underneath. I apologize for the reflection in the water, but I've got the grate pretty well underneath both rocks. As you can see, the anemone is still happy. He hasn't flinched. He hasn't tried to close up. So I'm hoping that I can lift him up out of here and place him somewhere in the general proximity of right in front of that shadow in the light. There's enough room in this tank to set him down, straight down in there. So, you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can set him straight down and slide him off of that grate. Sliding it off may be easier, harder than sliding him on, because I had the sand to pad the grate. So we're going to give it a try. We're going to pull Mr. Anemone out of that tank and back over here. We'll see how it goes. The next thing you're going to hopefully see is a Sebae Anemone sitting on the sand bed of the new tank. So, be back with you in just a minute. Okay, so we're going to wind this up for the night. The anemone made the trip. There were actually 3 rocks involved in the transition. it became apparent as I lifted him out of the old tank that he was only attached to the large rock there you see behind him. He's still wide open. He's looking good. He didn't get dripped in, which I would have preferred to do, but you know, he's placed in the tank almost exactly where I wanted him to be, and it was actually a fairly smooth trip. As you can see, very little sand came with them. I didn't get any sand all over the other corals and rock, very, very little. And he's looking fairly happy. He's in a little more flow than he was in the 30-gallon tank, which is to be expected, but he's also in a little more light and a lot more intensity as far as light, so it should be a good thing. We'll see, and if not, I'm sure he'll come loose and move himself. But it was very apparent when I moved those other two rocks away from him that he had not at any time been attached to them. If you've ever seen the foot of an anemone, they're kind of a yellowish orange color, and so is the scum glue gook that they use to attach themselves to rocks. So there wasn't any signs of any of that, and as soon as I just nudged it ever so little, those rocks were apparently loose. So it's a good thing. He looks comfortable. The clowns are in about an hour and 15 minutes worth of drip. There is not quite double the water I started with in the bucket. When we get to that point, we'll turn the water off and leave them sit for another 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll put them in with their friend. So the coral banded shrimp is in the tank just above the anemone there, and he appears to be happy, and everybody else is pretty much out in full bloom. Everybody looks pretty happy and healthy for the most part. Don't see any real problem children, and so we'll catch you tomorrow and see if everything is still in good shape. Back to the brown algae, I don't see a whole lot more in the tank. Perhaps a little bit more on the rock there, and maybe a little bit more behind this one Lobo brain, but keeping my fingers crossed that it doesn't bloom out and get brown everywhere, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Come back and join me for the next issue. I'm pretty sure everybody's happy. We'll see you later. Have a great day. Tune back again.